Let's hit record. Okay. Okay, another action-packed stuff. Yeah. Yeah. It's also geschmack. There's a geschmack joke from tonight's stuff. There's a lot in tonight's stuff.
Joke and a song.
There's a song also. What, you know about the song in tonight's stuff?
There's also a yapchik recipe if people want it.
I guess if you really, yeah, where is it? Oh, I forgot it. I can't find the joke. Oh, here it is. I think I found it. Maybe not. Okay, I'll try and find it as we go. Okay, so we left off with, what were the words we left off with? I know.
Amar Yehuda Amarav.
Amar Rav Yehuda Amarav. Oh, very good. Right about, what is it, about 12 lines down, right? 12 lines down.
13 lines down.
13 lines down. Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so Amar Rav Yehuda Amarav. Ovel, Yom Rishon, also lechol lechem mishaloi. On the first day, he's not allowed to eat his own bread. Right? It doesn't only mean bread, though, it means all food. Right? It doesn't really mean the first day, it means the first Suda, the Suda Savra. Right? Because the Torah told Yecheskel, you should not eat. Right? Again, we learned all these things, a lot of the Avelis is from Yecheskel, that Hashem told him not to keep the standard Avelis.
Chav Zayin base?
Chav Zayin base, yeah. Chav Zayin base, 13 wide lines down. Well, now we're 14 wide, 15 lines down now. Right? So a lot of the Hilchos Avelis we learned from Yecheskel that Hashem told him not to keep. It's mashma every other Allah has to keep. Right? So they told him, right? That he shouldn't eat others' bread. He should eat his own. Mashma, every other oval is supposed to eat somebody else's. Right? So this doesn't tell us why this is. Yeah? It doesn't say why. It just says that's how we know that an oval is not supposed to eat his own food. It doesn't say why. So some say that it's a way for them to give him, somebody gives you food, so it's a way to for people to be menachem, right?
13
or they're afraid
from the bottom or from the top? 13 from the bottom?
From the top. Now 15 from the top.
Chav Zayin base.
Yeah.
Yeah, 27b2.
And Moed Katan.
Yeah. So anyway, so that's it. We good? It's right across in my Gemara. It's right across from Taisus. It's the middle of Taisus amoraim mitvachos. Fine. Okay. Rabbi and Rabbi Yosef machalfi sudasai la'adadi. So Rabbi and Rabbi Yosef swapped sudas with each other. I didn't understand what this was exactly. How often were they both avelim at the same time? It almost sounds like they had his common. Rabbi and Rabbi Yosef used to switch their meals with each other.
No, not at the same time. Whenever one of them was was a shiva.
I'm saying, how many times did this happen? No, I guess. I don't know. I get back. I don't know.
I don't know, brother, sister, parents.
Okay, I guess so, but it's like, I guess they were neighbors with each other for a while.
Remember also infant mortality was a serious problem back then too.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. Yeah.
I mean, it must have been a serious problem for them regardless, because it was mentioned in the Gemara, like it was such a sticking factor, right?
Right, that's, yeah, I hear. Now, I'll tell you something interesting, because it's in Adar. So my mother-in-law told me that, so they lived in the same building when they first came to America in Manhattan, in the Upper West Side. So Rabbi Aaron Cutler lived on the first floor. No, Rabbi Aaron Cutler lived on the second floor, and Remendel Zaks lived on the first floor. The way they gave shalach manos to each other was one took an apple and an orange, sent it upstairs or downstairs, and the other one picked it up, sent it back down. That was the beginning and the end of Mishloach manos for them, right? So whatever. So I guess this has a precedence for doing that. Fine.
I'm not macabre that there was no theme. That there was no theme there.
There was a theme. The theme was fruits.
Oh.
I get it, right?
When a fruit was just a fruit, and you didn't have to be woke. You could send two fruits.
Also, I mean, maybe correct. But I don't know.
These were
I'm not sure
the
they
two
put it in
amoraim.
cellophane. I think they might have put it in cellophane. I'm not sure. Anyway, what are you saying, Yitzi?
These were the two amoraim who in Megillah that they used to eat together. Kam Rabba v'Shachar Reb Yosef. So they were neighbors and they
no, it was
used to
Reb
eat together all
Zera.
the
Come
time.
Rabba Shachar Reb Zera, no?
Oh, Reb Zera? I thought it was Reb Yosef.
Was it Reb Zera of Yosef? I don't remember.
Reb Zera.
Oh, it
Maybe
was Reb
Reb Zera.
Zera.
All right.
Oh, that
All right.
was not bad. Not a bad thought.
I was thinking Avelis maybe had something to do with it, but it was okay.
Oh, you said okay. I hear. Yeah. So anyway, so they swapped to this. Fine. If there's a mace in the city, everybody's also to do work. Okay, and that's the halacha, by the way. Yeah, everybody's also to do work. Now, we'll get to why that's not applicable, but what do you mean? How about learning? So Tosfos, in the first wide line, the Tosfos says Asurim Basiyas Malacha, Mashmud the Batal B'Torah Shari. It says you're only not allowed to do malacha, but learning you're allowed to do. Only when a chacham dies, that's when the learning has to stop. The base midrashay bottle, his base medrash stops learning. Miyu b'shas hoitzas mace, and we discussed this many times. But the time that they're bringing out the mace, oz mevatan tam b'Torah, then everybody has to stop learning. In Amrin Perek Sheni Ksubis, Perek Hamad the Megillah, mevatan tam b'Torah, letzas mace ulachnosas kala. Right? Fine. Now the question is the next line, right? That if it's there's a chabura, then maybe there's a suffix about it, right? Yeah. Anyways, okay. So whatever it is, I think it means a chabura of learning. I think the chabura of learning. Maybe it's not mevatel Talmud Torah the rabbin.
If there's a whole beit manish learning, they shouldn't be.
No, I don't know if that's a chabura. I don't know. I think a chabura means a shear, right? I can't say for sure, but that's what I think. Yeah. Yeah, but the point is that if somebody sees a levaya, then you have to stop.
It's a burial society.
I'm sorry. Right. No. I'm making a mistake. I'm mixing something else. It's not right. If there's a chevra kadisha, he's saying if there's a chevra kadisha, maybe he's mesupik whether you have to join the levaya, right? But he's mesupik about it, which then makes it a big leniency because nowadays there's always a chevra kadisha, right?
But it's not even that. Like different shuls, like the white shul has a burial society. I'm assuming the young Israel, the Gouda has one too. They all have like a certain grouping. It goes to their part of the base kvaros and all that stuff. You see them in the old, especially in the old base kvaros, where there's different gates that walk into it with a thing that says, B'nai Poland and B'nai Germany and whatever the shul name was and all that stuff. They were different societies. They're different. They're
right. Okay, but as long as there's a society to take care of it, so then you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
Right. That's what he's saying. Maybe he's saying he's not sure. Yeah. Fine. Okay. So then let's see back in the Gemara. So Rav Nuna iklu d'Darmusa. Rav Nuna came to Darmusa. Shama kol shipuru d'shikla. He heard the sound of a shofar, which means that somebody died. Chaza v'hanoch inchi d'ka'avdi avidta. And then he saw people doing work. Amar lahu lahavi hanoch inchi b'shavda. They should be in chayrim, right? Because they're working when somebody just died. So they said to them, you should be in chayrim. Isn't there a dead person in this town? There's a chabura. right? There's a Chaver Kadisha. Yeah. So Amar Lahu, Ihachi Shari L'chu, then I'm going to be matter the Chayrim. I'm going to be matter the Chayrim. Fine. Amar Yehuda Amar Rav, Kol HaMiskash Al Mesa Yosem Midai. This is a little bit scary here, right? Naftali Liner, we had this conversation many a time. If somebody is harder on the mace, more, that's a literal translation, but meaning if a person mourns too much, then al mace achar hu baicha, then he's going to end up mourning even on other mason. Meaning you can only do what the formula is for mourning. More than that, no good.
What's
right?
considered excessive according to the Torah?
More than whatever that halacha says. Anything more than halacha says.
What mean?
You want to know the common one? People want to keep their beards the whole year. That's the most common that's the most common. I'm not talking about you, Naftali. Okay? You know what I'm saying?
Which part of the conversation do we have?
What?
Which part of the conversation do we have?
I'm saying we discussed this, that you can't do more availus than...
You don't remember every conversation you have with Sviakov?
I would try. Yeah.
He's being an unav. He does.
Yeah.
But anyway, so no, but saying that people want to do more than they have to for the avelus, and that's not allowed. It's wrong. It's wrong. We'll see how the Gemara ends up. What the Chachamim say. First, it brings the story. There was a woman that was in the town of Rav Huna. She had 7 kids. One of them died. She was crying too much. Rav Huna sent to her, don't do this. She didn't listen. If you listen, then good. And if not, then start preparing. Zavdasa really means a suitcase for the other one. Start preparing tachrichin, whatever it is, for the next one. And then and then the next, but she didn't listen, obviously. And then the next one died. Umisukulu, and then all her kids died. The Saif, Amrallah, in the end, he said to her, Timush zvatel nafshech, you're still crying like this, then prepare your own suitcase. Umisa, and then she died. It's a pretty sad story. Fine. So then the Gemara says,
is this another raya? The Rav of the town has to know everything that's going on. I'm a woman, Rav Huna was a god ladar.
So, yes, okay, that's true, but I don't know, maybe somebody made him aware of it. If somebody made him aware of it, it's the wrong thing to do, so he's going to say something, no?
I guess, but that would imply that someone would make him aware of everything.
Somebody would make him aware that she lost 7 children.
No, he was already on after 1, right?
I don't know, maybe
But it's a normal thing. Someone goes to tell the God Lador there's a woman in the town who's crying.
If she's crying and she's overdoing it, so
maybe it was his neighbor.
That could be.
Even so,
Gershon, she was in sakana, right? It turns out she was she put herself in sakana, so the God Lador should be involved. She was a woman, so she put herself in sakana.
Right.
How? She was crying herself to death.
You just see how
you're not supposed to. You're not
4
supposed to
lines
do it
in the
excessively.
Gemara. How? What do you mean how?
She's putting it. He found out that she's crying a lot, so he made a macho for her sake. No.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know if you can bring a riot here. From the article it says, "Shalach la Rav Huna." Rav Huna sent her a message.
That's what Gershon is saying. Like I guess he found out about it. I don't know. Yeah, well, maybe he went to the levaya like he was supposed to, right? And he saw her crying. But I guess the first few days there, he's supposed to cry, so maybe that's not too much. I don't know. So anyway, so what's the source? So the Passuk is, Al tifchu l'meis v'lo yisanudulai. Don't cry for a mace, right? And don't sanudulai, how do you touch it? Nod, don't move for him. Don't go like shake the head. Yeah. So Al tifchu l'meis, right? So don't cry for don't cry for a mace, and don't shake your head. I think it means like shaking your head, like that's what people do when it's happens. Like you shake your head, like oh yeah, right? Okay, tzad, what's the case, right? How do you know? So shloisha yomim lebechi, like we just said, 3 days for crying. Shiva lehesped, 7 for hesped. Shloishim legiyot l'tispires. Shloishim is for new clothing and for haircuts. Mikan ve'elech, Amar Kadosh Baruch Hu, Iatam Rachmanim ba'yoisem mimeni. This is the sentence right there. You don't make it like you have more Rachmanis than me. Right? There's a lot in that line. Meaning Hashem saying, I also have Rachmanis. Right? Not also. I am a Rachman. That's what Hashem's saying. But I have to take people away from this earth. That's just the way it goes. Right? By you crying over too much, then you're showing like that I'm not as big a Rahman as you, meaning Hashem saying that, right? That you're a bigger Rahman than me because if you're crying so much, that shows that you don't really agree with what happened over here, right? If you makabel it, there's an emotion, and then once the emotion goes away, or you have to try and get the emotion go away, and that's it.
So why does somebody else have to suffer because he's being overly excessively availous?
What does he have to suffer? Because he's showing.
Now he's suffering. The person's dying.
He's saying because I do excessively, so somebody else is going to die.
That's what you're asking. You.
Yeah.
Because it's the dying is the punishment for the person who's doing the excessive mourning.
I get it. He's going to be bitzar that his child died or somebody died, right? He's going to be bitzar, but there's a din on the person that's dying.
Correct. You're supposed to cry, but when you do it too much, then that's already lack of bitachon.
No, it says if somebody mourns too excessively, then somebody else will die who's close to him.
Correct.
The punishment should be on him.
The person themselves should die.
The person himself should be.
Could be.
Something. So why is the punishment somebody else? Why is
who says it's the punishment to somebody else? Because
the person dying.
Well, they could be crying over themselves that they made themselves die. In the story, she lost her other kids and then she lost herself. Then
why did the kids have to die? Because she was overly excessive.
I don't know, but so that's I don't know.
I mean, we're not tired. The guy was overly excessive. So
right? No, the Passuk says lo yumsu. The Passuk says like you lo yumsu banim for Allah. What's the Passuk say? It's a Passuk, right? The kids will not die for their parents' misdeeds.
Don't we learn that there is a punishment to the second generation if somebody does an avera?
Yeah, so that's a bad. So that's if they follow in the same avera. If they follow in the same avera, then they'll get punished for the parents' averas. Right. But anyways,
BOGO.
Okay, whatever it is. But it's a tough Gemara to understand. But the bottom line is that there's a fine line between being sad and then overdoing it, in which case you no longer have bitachon. That's basically where I understand the Gemara.
It's not lack of bitachon, or it's a patch to the Rebbeinu Shalom.
Same thing. I think it's the same thing. Anyway, so bechu bachay lahaylech, cry for somebody that goes, right? Bechu bachay, double lashon of crying. Amar Rav Yehuda lahaylech b'loy banim. That's for somebody who leaves the world without. Well, literally it means sons. I don't know if it means sons or it means children, right? But there's an extra crying for that. Rabbi Shimon Levi lo yazal lebei avla. Rabbi Shimon Levi never went to a base oval, right? Ella lamanda azal b'loy bani. If somebody passed away without kids, then he would that shiva he would go to. Dichsiv bachai. You have to cry for somebody who goes because he's never going back to his land. Meaning, if he leaves family over, then it's as if the land he's still living, right? He's still whatever people do in this world is a schus for the parents that were before them. So, but if he doesn't have that, so then his world is over with. Yeah. This is talking about a person who does an avera and he does it twice. right? Meaning he's not gonna go back, right? Which what does that mean? Since a person does an avera and then he does it a second time, it becomes mutter to him. So hutrulai sagada, does it mean it becomes mutter because you do an avera twice? It becomes mutter. Elaim and nasis like a heter, it becomes in his mind like it's a heter, and therefore he ends up continuing to do it, right? So that's the way he understood the Passuk, that you're never going to go back and return, which is true. You see that once things happen a second time, then it almost becomes like it's mutter. So this is the joke, but I don't remember the exact joke. So the first time is an avera, second time it's nasis keheter. Then the third time, what happens if he does it a third time? So I forgot. I think there was Rabbi Sol Salanta.
It's a mitzvah.
That is a mitzvah. Very good, Mike. You know this. Rabbi Sol Salanta said it's a mitzvah.
I know it. Unfortunately, we all go through difficulties.
Yeah. So it's a mitzvah. Then I think the altar said. I forgot what he said, and then Reb Chaim Cohn, the Passuk from Brooklyn, said, and if he does it a fifth time, becomes a shita. Right?
I thought a hinder mitzvah.
Well, maybe that's the fourth one, but the fifth one is it becomes a shita. You b'shita doing the avera, not stam doing it. You b'shita. Okay, fine. Let's see about Omer Rav Levi. This is also pretty scary here. 3 days, the first 3 days. He should see as himself whether that he has a sword lying between his thighs, right? Meaning the sword is on him because he's in a bad luck situation, right? Since a relative, what?
The time of din.
It's a time of din because a relative died. So Mamela, there's din and you got to be careful. So once you get past the first 3 days, then till Shiva, then it's like the sword is in a corner, right? Meaning it's near, but it's not as close as it was the first 3 days. It's as if he's passing it by, or the sword is passing by him in the street, so that's even further away, right? But that's until when? Till Yud Beis Chodesh, right? Until Yud Beis Chodesh, right? But meaning the year of Avelus is considered a bad luck year for the Avelim, right? And that's one of the reasons I think the Ramah says to fast on a yahrzeit, because a yahrzeit is considered a bad luck day. So that's why that's one of the reasons to fast. So to try and alleviate that. Yeah, fine. And then some say that when this Naftali, I know for sure we discussed, is that Noilad Zachar Nisrapa Kol Mishpacha. That when you have a baby boy, then the entire family gets healed.
We learned that together in the kitchen.
Yeah. So some say that means once that changes the luck, right? Then it means once you have a baby boy during the year, then that takes care of the bad luck, right? Of the year. That's what
we actually had it, and the baby has the full name of my father.
There you go, Baruch Hashem. Did your luck change?
It wasn't luck. It was you have the Malcolm above you or something. You should be scared.
Yeah.
See, Yaakov, I mentioned this to a few rabbanim in the neighborhood. They agreed with me, and maybe they stopped doing it. I don't know because of the COVID. Who knows what? I don't know. That to me it was always a total absurdity because it's a time of din. The family lost the patriarch, and by the levaya, the Rav stands up and he names everybody in the family. The children, these are the children that lost their father. These are the grandchildren. These are the Iranians. What are you naming everybody for? It's a time of din. The Malach HaMavis is attacking this family. Why are you naming all the people? To me, it's total insanity.
I hear. I know. I never thought about that. I hear.
What?
I mean, why are you saying their names?
Yeah. What are you doing?
Interesting.
What are you saying that for? So two Rabbanim in the neighborhood agreed with me. Oh, I don't know if they stopped or not, but
I hear. Interesting. It's interesting. All right. I'll have to pay attention. Hopefully there won't be any levayas anytime soon.
Rabbi, I want to talk about that a little bit more. Two Rabbanim agreeing with you in the neighborhood.
Anyways, okay. Let's invite, all right? So we said you never put the Aron, or not the Aron, whatever, the mita of women in the public. So on to Amud Aleph now. So we start today's daf. That's only a woman who died in childbirth because they're bleeding. So it's a busha for them to be bleeding. But other women, you could leave them. You could leave them in the street. Even other women, Miriam, right? That even other women, we don't leave them there because it says Atamas Sham Miriam Atikover Sham. She died there and she was buried there, which is Samach Lamisa Kvura. They did right next to her Misa. They buried her. I mean, they didn't wait around. Yes, so that's a
he's arguing.
He's arguing. No,
he's saying why, but he's saying
no. He's saying that they bury right away. So other nashim, she didn't die from childbirth, right? So we're saying other nashim, they bury them right away, so they don't leave them in the street for people to be masped them. Yeah.
I mean, because one person was done that way, so therefore we don't do that's like I'm saying.
No, because I think other women could have blood, period blood, whatever it is, coming out of them.
You can't answer Isha Chshuva because of the water came.
I don't know. Even her. So even her, they didn't leave. That's okay. That's the Machlokes. Fine. Af Miriam ben Neshika Mesa. Miriam decides for Aron and Moshe Rabbeinu dying with a mitzvah Neshika, with the kiss. So she also did. Ask Sham Moshe, because we have Gzeira Shava of Sham from Moshe. So how come it doesn't say that she died al pi Hashem like it says by Moshe and Aaron? But to say that she died al pi Hashem is a genai. To say that I'm assuming it means to say that she was kissed by Hashem. It doesn't say that, but that's what it means. So that's a genai, right? Fine. Miriam the Parshas Paraduma. Why is Misas Miriam right next to the Parsha Paraduma? Just like the Paraduma is mechaper. Misas and tzadikim. So the Misa of tzadikim is mechaper. Amar Rabbi Lazar, Misas Aron the big day kahuna. Why was the Misa of Aron close to the big day kahuna? Ma big day kahuna mechaperin. The big day kahuna is mechaper, meaning because they use the big day kahuna in the Mesa Mikdash. Misas and tzadikim mechaper. So the Misa of tzadikim is also mechaper. Fine. Now the Gemara goes through a whole list of different deaths. Here's a ton of them. Meis Pisaim, if somebody dies right away, Zuhi Misa Chatufa, that's called a grab, literally, a grabbed Misa. Chalayim Echaru Meis, if they're sick for one day and then die, Zuhi Misa Dechufa, that's a Dechufa Dika, that's called really like pushed. And Taisus, Gavaldiga Taisus here, Taisus, the fourth Taisus down, says, Lo Yadaina Maishnahu Uminole. I have no idea what the difference is and how we know. He doesn't know. Taisus doesn't know what the difference is between Tchufa and Chatufa. Fine. So Reb Chananya ben Gamliel, Zuhi Misa Magefa. That's called the Misas of Magefa, to die so fast. Shanemar ben Adam Hinini Lakechumcha es Machmar Einecha ben Magefa. Right, you're taking from somebody who was loved by me in the Magefa. I spoke to the people in the morning, and my wife died at night. That's Yecheskel. Right, that it happened. She died right away that day. So that's called like a Magefa. Shnei Yamim, so the person is sick for 2 days and then dies. Zuhi Misa T'chuya. That's called like pushed fast. Gimel, Ga'ara, if it was 3 days, then that's like Ga'ara is like a Musar. Arba is Nazifa, that's stronger than Musar. Chamisha, Zui, Misas, Kol Adam, and if it's 5 days, then that's the regular death of people. That would be the norm. Fine. Obviously, the Metzias has changed nowadays. I don't know how you'd apply this to nowadays. I'm not sure. So Aron and Moshe, what's the Passuk? Hein karvu yomecha lamos. Right? This is Hashem telling Moshe that he's going to be dying soon. So your days are coming close to die. Hein is chad. Karvu is trey, because karvu is plural. And yomecha is trey, that's also. So that's 5. Chamisha, that gets you 5. Right? Hein chad shekain b'loshin yavani karen la'achas hein. In Greek, we call the word achas as hein. Meis b'chamishim shana. So whatever. So that's how we know that hein. That hein, means 1. Fine. So meis b'chamishim shana. If somebody dies when he's 50 years old, zuhi misas karas. That's karas. Yeah. Chamishim ushtayim shana. 52. Zuhi misas shmuel haramasi. Shmuel died at the age of 52. Shmuel Hanavi. Shishim zuhi misa b'dei shemayim. 60 is misa b'dei shemayim. Yeah. Amar Zutra, Mikra. What's the pasuk? Dichsiv tavai bekelach elai cover. Come to the bekelach says we're going to touch it like older, right? So how do you get that? Bekelach begematria shisin hava. Kelach is a gematria of 60. Right, so that's the age of, that's the 60. Fine. Shivim.
Is this Gemara saying that it's dafka chamishim, 50 years? Is that the birthday or the whole year or the whole decade? I mean, it splits it by 50 to 52 is Shmuel Haramasi. That's fine. He wasn't Chayav Karas or Misa B'nei Shemayim. That's a good thing.
Well, that's what the Gemara is going to say. Correct.
So what's Meis Chamishim and Shishim? Well, what does it mean? Dies on his 50th birthday?
I don't know. I'm not sure how to understand it. I'm really not sure how to understand it. So 50, because it's really going from 50 to 60.
Yeah, but 52 takes a break.
Yeah.
So 51 and 53 are bad. They're also karis.
I don't know. That's what you have to say. That's what you have to say.
And what about 49?
Why should 49 be? 40, anything less than 50 is a problem. No?
Well, there's a lot of holy people who died before the 50.
I understand, but that's Stam how to understand exactly what.
I mean, a couple of them are printed in every Shulchan Aruch.
Yes, of course. Listen, yeah, that's
obviously not karis.
But you have to figure that out with this Gemara, because this Gemara says yes.
So I would say, because it says 52 in between, that it means dafka 50. Most the year, not anything more than that.
How could you say 50 is karas and 49 is not?
I would imagine the Eibush has more cheshbonus than 1 for 50 itself too.
And a chanami, but the Gemara didn't say that.
But it does say just 50. It doesn't say more or less. It says 50. It doesn't say ad chamishim shana.
I don't know. To me, it has to be a kol shekain. But okay, ich weiß nicht. Yeah. Anyway, so shivim seva. Shivim means if somebody dies at 70, that's considered old age. Shmainim gvuras 80 means that's strong. Tichsiv yimei shnei seinu b'hem shivim shana v'im begvura shmainim shana. Right? It's a Passuk in Tehillim. So normal age is 70 years, and if you're strong, it's 80 years. So Amar Rabba mechamishim v'ad shishim shana zui misas karas. That's a misas karas, right? And why did it not say it 50 to 60? Because of the cover of Shmuel Haramasi, right? Who died at 52. So you can't go saying that Shmuel was Chayav Karas. Yeah. So it's hard to understand. So that means, so then who does it apply to? So it clearly doesn't apply to tzadikim.
Applies to some people.
So then how do you know? How do you know?
I mean, it looks like we're not allowed to say it about anyone.
Yeah, we don't know when someone's going to be is kares.
And no, you can't. Right, so you can't know. You can't know, right?
So what is the point of the Gemara? Just that's the age of kares.
Yeah, it's I don't know how you got to basically say that everybody's a tzaddik, right? No.
But one thing we should not say is he died before his time. That always sounds like, that sounds weird. So it was his time to die. If he died during his time, it's almost like Kfira.
That is Kfira. I think the Gemara, do we have a Gemara? Was it Gemara that says it or Shulchan Aruch that says it? You can't say that. What is it that says if you say, if you even say, by Shiva, what's the classic thing to say? What could we do? Right? You say something like that, that's apikorsis. Right? Because it sounds like you got it all figured out more than Hashem. Right? What could we do? Or something like there's a phrase like that Shulchan Aruch says you can't say that it's apikorsis. Okay, fine. Let's see. Rav Yosef ki have a parshisin. When Rabbi Yosef became 60 years old, he made a Yom Tif. Omar nafki li mikaris, I'm out of chorus. So Abaya said, Nehi, the nafik le mar mikaris the shani. Yeah, you got out of the chorus of years. Mikaris the Yomi mean nafik mar. Did you go out of the chorus of days? Right? Meaning you could have a fast death, and then you could still have chorus even if you're older than 60, whatever that means. Right, so Amarle, Nokedlach, Miha, Palga Bialcha. At least I got half. He says, at least give me half. Quite an interesting conversation between them. Right now, from this, I think there's a Chassam Sofer I saw it today brought down. In the Chassam Sofer said to make a Shechianu at the age of 60, and then at 70. And then I think at 80, I don't remember exactly, but he said make a shechiah.
But not every day?
With a new fruit, yes, with a new fruit. I don't know. No, you make it once because you already passed the next threshold of life. Yeah, fine.
Plus, this is also almost mashma the opposite of what we were just saying. We're talking about Rav Yosef, the Zaken Hadayr, and he made a Yom Tov when he hit 60 because he wasn't Chayiv Karis.
Right.
What would Rabbi Yosef? He thought he might have been Chayiv Karis somehow.
I don't know. He's just saying, don't rest on your laurels. That's really the way I understood it.
That's true. So give a drasha.
He's
give
making
a
party that he's not. He's making a party. He's not Chayiv Karis. And then Nabaya came and said, "Hey, slow down, buddy."
It was his Talmud.
That's true.
Party
pooper. Yeah.
My daughters took me out for dinner on my 60th birthday to a fancy restaurant. Yeah.
There you go. Okay, Baruch Hashem.
Well, that's the exact opposite of what happens here. This is like you went and took them, and they said, "What are you doing having a party here? Wait till you're 80."
Okay, whatever. Anyways, listen. Levaya, everybody should make it there, Baruch Hashem. Best Hashem, everybody should make it there whole and healthy. Yeah, it should be nagaya to everybody. Yeah, fine. Rav Huna noch nashe pisam. Rav Huna died right away. I mean, fit quickly. Have a koi daiger abundance. All everybody got scared, right? Meaning they thought he chayiv koros because he died right away, which is strange because isn't that mitzvahs in the shika, right? Bottom line is, the way I understand all this stuff is Hashem wants us to have no yishuv adas whatsoever. There should always be sfeikis in our head. Like this, we never have a moment to rest in our avodas Hashem. That's the way I understand it. I have no idea if I'm right or not. But that's meaning you can never know. If something good happens to you, you have no idea if that's your reward on this world and you ain't going to get it on the next world. Something bad happens to you, you have no idea if you're getting punished on this world or you're getting it for the next. You have no idea. We have no idea. And we just got to keep rolling.
Kind of depressing.
It is depressing, but that's why Hashem wants us constantly working. Right? That's what he wants.
It's supposed to be a chizuk. This is the same as Shuv Yom Echad Lifnei Moshe.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyways, okay, so let's see. So Tana Lahu, Zugad Medayev, right? So this pair from Medayev taught or learned Loishanu Ela Shalaigi Ligvurus. When is it? An instant death is only when you didn't reach the gvuras, meaning 80 years old. Gvuras, zuhi misas nashika. That's called a misas nashika, right? So now we're saying if it's after 80, then sudden death like that is a misas nashika. Fine. Amarava. Here we go. This is the most loaded statement of the whole daf of a daf of many loaded statements. Okay. Amarava, Rava, chaye bani umezayne. How long you're going to live, and how many kids you're going to have, and your food, meaning your parnasa, loy b'schusa talyamilsa, has nothing to do with your schusim, ela b'mazal talyamilsa, it's totally in your luck. All right, so I'm going to sit on the couch, and I'm going to do nothing, and whatever money I end up making, I make. And what, right? Is that what it's saying? That seems to be what it's saying. Right, so Tosfos immediately asks on the Gemara on Shabbos, right, that we said there's no mazal to Yisrael, right? Tosfos right over to the left, he says. So he says, no, sometimes the mazal could change, right? So sometimes you could change the mazal, sometimes you cannot change the mazal. Okay, whatever it is.
Just out of curiosity, when Tosfos quotes Tosfos, who are they quoting?
Yeah, I don't know.
I've never seen that before. The Hikshu b'Tosfos?
I don't know. Yeah. No, so because a lot of people say that the Tosfos and Moed Katan are more like Rashi's. Whatever, it's a different, there's different
that begs the worst question.
Yeah.
Rashi was the grandfather of most of the Bali Tosfos. He couldn't have asked Hikshu b'Tosfos.
Right, okay, that's true. But fine. So let's see. So he's saying that how does he know that it's totally in mazal? To Rabba Rav Chisda, Tavai Rabbanan Tzadikim. Rabba and Rav Chisda were both Rabbanim and Tzadikim. Mar Matzliva Asi Mitra. One would daven and it would rain. Umar Matzliva Asi Mitra. And one would daven and it would rain. Rav Chisda Chaya Tishin Betartin Shnin. Rav Chisda lived to 92 years old, which back then is like living till 1,000, right? And Rabba Chaya Arba'in, and he lived 40 years. Bei Rav Chisda Shisin Halule, and Rav Chisda made 60 chasanas for Einaklach, or kids, Einaklach. Bei Rabba Shisin Tichli, and Rabba had 60 burials in 40 years, right? So Bei Rav Chisda Smida Lakalbi V'lay Mispay, Rav Chisda, they had so much money over there that they had Smida. They would feed good flour to the dogs, V'lay Misavi, and they wouldn't eat it, right? They were used to better things. By Rabba Nama Desari Leinchi, and by Rabba, they gave barley to the people for loy mishtagach, and they couldn't have enough, right? So clearly he was poor, and it was bad mazal, and each one was tzadikim, right? So that's how he's proving from that. He's saying that all these things are totally in luck. It's a very difficult to understand. There's a bunch of different mahalchim, the rishonim, of exactly how to understand this, especially with the Gemara, right? Yeah, that you can daven and change somebody else's mazal, maybe, right? And there was, what was the other tirutzim? What was I don't remember. There was one, and then one is that you could, well, Tosfos is that you could change, whatever. I don't know. I was wondering, I thought about it today. The problem was that I thought about it today during Shemona Esrei, right? But it popped into my head today that certain people need more sleep, certain people need less sleep. Certain people have abilities and certain people don't have abilities. That's a mazal, right? That's why, let's say a guy needs 10 hours of sleep. He's doing nothing wrong by sleeping those 10 hours, right? But he's not going to end up having the same amount of knowledge, probably, as the guy that only needs 4 hours of sleep, right? We see that by the Gedolim. You can't imitate them. If you can't do it, you can't imitate them. So that's mazal. But what you do with that mazal, that maybe is biyah. That maybe you can daven for. Yeah, I don't know. That was some sort of thought, but who knows? Fine. It's
Yaakov.
Yeah.
Just to answer Tosfos' kasha, isn't there a difference between Klal Yisrael as a whole and the individual? Klal Yisrael as a whole might not have mazal. Individuals might have some sort of mazal.
I think somebody says that. I think that's one of the tiruts that somebody says, right? That you can't.
That's what the Gemara is, because the Gemara is showing that right afterwards. The Gemara is showing going through individuals. We're not talking about Klal Yisrael as a whole.
So you're saying Klal Yisrael as a whole could? No. Klal Yisrael
No, the opposite. Klal Yisrael does not have mazal. The individuals have some sort of mazal.
So he's saying that Klal Yisrael was supposed to make $100,000 that year. Rav Chisda made 95. Rava made 5. That's
yeah.
No, okay. No, now you reminded me, Taka. Didn't we have this that you daven in what's it
if that's
called?
why you should daven b'tzibah.
No, in Tainus we had that there's by the 2 Rosh Hashanahs. I think there was a run that there's Rosh Hashanah. What are you dying for Rosh Hashanah? And then what are all the minor Rosh Hashanahs? Meaning Rosh Hashanah Lilonas, Rosh Hashanah for this. What's the pshat? So one was for the klal and one was for the prat, something like Yitzi. That's it. Yeah, Taka. Maybe that's a raya. Okay, so Vamar Rav Hani Tlas Mili Boy.
This line of Gemara why A-Time made their thing at the beginning of the week, not tonight.
Huh?
Bunny is one of the things that's mazel. You can't do anything about it. A-Time made their Siyam Hashas.
What did you say? I can't hear.
A time is they gave
a time.
Siyam Hashas. Yeah. So what about it?
For kids. But bunny is one of the things that's just mazel. You can't do anything about.
Okay, but that's a different question because with all the stuff, the technology we have nowadays, okay, I don't know. Yeah, fine. Bamarova, yeah. Hani tlas mili boy kameshma. I asked the Shemayim for 3 things. Tarti Yavali, they gave me 2. Chadalo Yavali, 1 they didn't give it to me. Chochmasa de Rav Huna, I asked for the brains of Rav Huna. Vaisra de Rav Chisda, and the wealth of Rav Chisda. The Yavali, and Hashem gave it to me. Right? On Venasu say the Rav Huna lo Yavali, but I asked for the Anivas of Rav Huna, and that they didn't give me. Right? So now how do you understand this? Because he asked for what?
Because he wasn't humble?
No, I'm saying I don't know.
I'm saying he couldn't.
Shouldn't he learn all his tzadikim?
No, he was yeah, he could, but I guess he wanted super anivus. But I'm saying he asked for brains, which we said is mazal, and he got it. And he asked for money, and he got it. He asked for anivus, and he didn't get it. Right? So I don't know. So some he got, some he didn't get. Okay, then the Passuk also discuss anivus as part of Yiras Shamayim. Right? We said Akobi de Shamayim chutz mi Yiras Shamayim. Okay, this is a whole sugya. Right, Bez Hashem in the morning Chabura, we'll get to Daf Kuf Nun Vav. Hopefully, I don't know, at our pace, maybe 4 or 5 months. But Bez Hashem. But then we'll have time to be ma'ayin in the sugya. Fine. Yeah. Okay. So then weiter. Rav Sa'irim Achud, the Rav Hava Yosef Kamed the Rav. Rav Sa'irim was Rava's brother, was sitting in front of Rava. Chazi Dava Kamenam, and he saw him falling asleep. That's a literal translation, right? But that means that Rashi says he was a geisis. He was dying. So another fascinating thing. He said, can you tell him that to Malach HaMavis not to cause me pain when he's taking me? Aren't you a sheshvina? Sheshvina means aren't you a partner? Not a partner, a friend, close to the Malach HaMavis. Why can't you tell it to him yourself? Kivan de imsar mazal lo yashkach be. Since the mazal since my mazal is given over to the, meaning I already lost this, he's not going to listen to me anymore because I have no more power because he knows he's got me. So he's not listening to me, but he'll listen to you. Seems like the Malach HaMavis had relationships with the Gedolim. That's what it seems. So they had a relationship, but Rav was saying, but I don't have it anymore because my mazal is up. Fine. So Amalei, he said, "L'schazi limar, will you be seen to me after your nifter?" Right. So ischazi lei. So when Rabba was nifter, he came back to him and Amalei, Havalei lamar tzar, did you have pain? Amalei, ki rivda de kasilta, it was like being poked with a what do you call it? Like a shot. When you bloodletters, when they poke a hole. So it's not a big deal, right? It wasn't painful. Fine. So then Rava Habayosef made the Rav Nachman. Rava was sitting in front of Rav Nachman. Now this obviously had to happen before, right? So meaning Rava had this story happen to him, and he did this to somebody else. He did this to Rav Nachman, right? Rava Habayosef made the Rav Nachman. It's interesting why the Gemara doesn't bring it in the opposite order, right? Rava, this story obviously happened first, right? Because in the first story, Rava is the one that died. Here, Rav Nachman is the one that died. So, okay, I'm not sure. Rava Haba Yosef came to Rav Nachman. Chazi the Komanam. He saw that he was dying. Amrlei Lemelei Mar Delay Letzarim. Please tell the Malach HaMavis not to give me pain. Amrlei Mar Lav Adam Chashavu. Aren't you Adam Chashav? So you have a sprach, as they say with the Malach HaMavis. Amrlei Man Chashav. Man Saf and Man Rakia. Who's Chashav and who is another? These are all the shyness of being very Chashav, right? Meaning who can be so Chashav with him, right? So Amalei l'schazi limar, at least come back and show me what's going on. So it's Chazile, he came back and showed him. Amalei havalei lamar tzaira. Did you end up having pain? Amalei kemishchol benisa mechalva. It's like taking a hair out of milk. Quite an interesting mashal, but there's no pain for anybody taking a hair out of the milk, right? So therefore, there was no pain in my death. Fine. But if HaKadosh Baruch Hu would say to me, Zil Bahu Alma Kadhavis, go back to that world, meaning I'll go put you back in the world and you'll live again. But I still wouldn't want to go back and become alive again, because it's scary. To be scared of the Malach HaMavis is quite scary. Okay, these are not good Gemaras to learn right before you go to sleep. I could say that. Yeah, fine. Rabbi Elazar havaka'achel truma. Rabbi Elazar was eating truma. Ischazile, and then he appeared to him eating Malach HaMavis. Amrlei truma ka'achil nevelav kadosh v'lai kadosh ikri. I'm eating truma. Isn't that called kodesh? Right? And you're gonna take me, and then you're gonna be matama the truma, right? So chalfulei shaita, he went away for a bit, right? Until he was finished eating the truma. Rav Sheshes is chazilei b'shuka. Rav Sheshes saw the Malach HaMavis in the street. Amrulei b'shuka kebehema. You're gonna kill me in the street like a behema. Asa legabi besa. Come to the house. Then take me there. Okay. Rav Ashi is chazilei b'shuka. Rav Ashi saw the Malach HaMavis in the street. Amrulei isruchli tlas and yomin. Wait for me 30 days. Vahadri l'talmudai, and I'll go chazer over all my learning. Damrisu. Ashrei mi shebalakan v'talmudai biyadai. Yeah, song of the daf. Yeah, Ashrei praises the one who comes kan, meaning to the next world, and he has his Talmud in his hands. B'yayim tlas and us on the 30th day. So the Malach HaMavis kept the deal, and he came on the 30th day. Amrulei, my kulei. What is all this? What's the rush? Kadachka ragli the barnasim. So he answered him back, because the Rav Nassan's feet are pushing you, right? Meaning because Rav Nassan's supposed to take over, right? Vein malchus negas b'charat afilu kamalei nima. Where we had this a few times already. That one malchus can't touch another malchus, even the thickness of a hair. Meaning he cannot take you over until you die. So we're in a rush that you should die, so that Rav Nassan takes over the leadership. Fine. Rav Chisda, he was not able to, the Malach HaMavis wasn't able to take Rav Chisda. The lo have a shasik pumi migirsa, because his mouth never stopped learning. Yeah, this is one of my favorite Gemaras in Shas. I'll tell you why in a minute. Something that I think the Chavetz Chaim is the one that says it. So again, he was learning, so the Malach HaMavis couldn't take him while he was learning. So Salik, so he went up. The Malach HaMavis Yosef ba'arza. He sat on the arza tree, the beirav, right, of Rav Chisda's yard. Poka arza, and then he broke the tree. B'shasak, and he stopped. He stopped learning for a second, and then he was able to chap him. Right? So the question is, did Rav Chisda never go to the bathroom? He didn't have to drink. He didn't have to eat. Right? So, what are you saying?
No, so say, I'm sorry.
Yeah. So I think it's the Chavetz Chaim that says that when you're learning when you stop learning, the only reason why you're stopping to learn is because you need to take care of something that's important, that's part of life, then that's as if you're still learning. Right? And he says it's a raya from here. Otherwise, I mean, he had to take care of whatever you need to take care of. And he says that is a musar or a chizik for those that don't have the ability to learn a whole day. But if you're learning at night or in the morning or whenever you have a chance to learn and you're going to work, it's as if you're learning the entire time. Right? And it's a starka raya from this mice. It's a starka raya. Right? That as long as you show that you would be learning if you didn't have a choice, then it's as if you'd be learning the whole time. Fine. It's also
I remember seeing a
Muslim.
Marsha somewhere like this.
Is it a
Marsha
Marsha?
says that Marsha says that today's version of Tzirasa Yumnasa is someone who learns when he has the time, not someone who learns constantly.
Yeah. Right. So yeah, very good. That's the same type of thing. Fine. Reb Chia, he wasn't able to get close to the Malach HaMavis. Yomi Echad, Idmi Leikan, he looked like an ani. Also, Tarif Habava, he came and knocked on the door. Amrale, Afikli, Rifta, can I have some, bring out to me bread? Afikule said, I brought it out to him. Amrale, Belav Kamaracha Maranya. Do you not have Rahmanas on a poor person? Ahu Gavra Amai Kamaracha Mar. So you have Rahmanas on a poor person. Obviously, you brought bread. So why are you not having Rahmanas on that person? Meaning on the Malach HaMavis, whose job is to come take you. So Galile, Achvile, Shaita Nura. So what he did, he was Magal himself to him. How? By making a piece of wood on fire. Right? So then he chapped that this is the Malach HaMavis. So Amtzi Le Nafshe, so Reb Chia gave himself over to the Malach HaMavis. The Malach HaMavis said, that's my job. I have to do what I have to do. So don't stop me from doing that. Okay, Anton, let's just do a little bit into the Gemara. So then, unless, what time is it? Yeah, okay, let's do it. Fine. So Zog the Mishna, yeah? Nashim, b'mayed ma'anas avalei metafkas. Women on chalamayed, so we said already that, I don't know how this worked with the tznius patrol that would be nowadays, right? But the way it worked by levaya is women were making a lot of noise, right? So women on chalamayed, they're allowed to do this ma'anos, which is some sort of hesped type thing. Avaloi metafkas, but they're not allowed to clap, right? That they're not allowed to do, because that's too much. That's too much on chalamayid. Rabbi Shmuel, asmuchas lamita metafches. The ones that are closest to the mita are allowed to be metafches on chalamayid. But in Rosh Chodesh, b'Chanuka v'Purim, Rosh Chodesh B'Chanuka v'Purim, ma'anas u'metafches, because Rosh Chodesh and Chanuka Purim are mutar b'melacha. So since they're mutar b'melacha, it's more makel when it comes to hespedim, right? I'm sorry again. They could do both. Meaning cholamayid and Rosh Chodesh, Chanuka and Purim. You're not allowed to do kinos, right? Nikvar mace, and once the mace was buried, then you have to stop, because cholamayid, whatever they're allowing to do, is only b'shas the levaya. After the levaya, all these things all the hespedim, whatever you're doing has to stop. Eza Inui. What is Inui? Shakulan oinas achas. That's where everybody says the same thing together. Kino is sha'achas medaberes v'kulan oinas achara. That's like when we do like Avinu Malkeinu, and when we say Tilim, the Chazan says one Passuk, everybody repeats. That's a kino. Shanemar v'lamadam v'neseichem nehi v'isha reusa kino, and teach the daughters how to have avelus, and the ladies will teach their friends a kinos. That means one woman is saying it and she's teaching everybody else. But in lava we say, and unfortunately we've all heard this pasuk way too many times, that death should be swallowed forever, and Hashem should remove tears from everybody's face. So that's the way we want to end. That's the way we want to end the Mishna of the Masechta, right? Now, Tosfos, I don't know what's going on with this Tosfos here because it seems like he had a different order of the Masechtas. See, Tosfos bila amavis kedei l'sayim b'davar atay mishum the Moed Katan who saif seder Moed. Moed Katan is at the end of seder Moed, right? Yeah, because we want to end off seder Moed with something good. Well, what happened to Chagiga? Anybody see anything on this? I don't know. I looked around.
He just says according to the Rambam, it ends with Chagiga.
Who says that?
He brings here a footnote. Rambam.
The art scroll?
Yeah.
So we're all going. So, and did he not have Chagiga, or he had it in a different order?
It doesn't say that they didn't have it. It just says that it ends. It ends after this Moed Katan ends Moed. But according to the Rambam, he adds Chagiga. It ends with Chagiga.
Okay, interesting. And then I don't know if the next thing we'll remember. The next thing Tosfos says is that so if you're finishing Moed Katan, so then the next Masechta is Yevamis because there's no Chagiga. So Yevamis starts off with death also, right? When there's all the different the death without the kids, so that requires Yibum. So that's what Tosfos is saying. We have the Peronius of Moed Katan next to the Peronius of Yevamis. Right? Okay, whatever that means. Okay, so I guess it's later.
Umacha is also a song of the daf.
Who?
Umacha is also the song of the daf.
Is it?
Yeah, what's his name has the song? Can you imagine?
I don't know, but okay.
Baruch Levine.
I hear. All right, so I guess we'll stop here and we'll finish tomorrow night. Bez Hashem, make a shtickle siyum, and then we'll start Chagiga. Fine. All right. Good to know everybody.
Talking about Siyum, do we have a date yet for Siyum on Seder Moed?
I don't know. You got to ask the Gaboyim.
Aron, still on?
First of all, Kaplan, you're posting ads for other dafim out there. I mean, is that allowed? I mean, I'm not an admin, but I don't know if that's allowed. You know.
It was approved prior, Naftali. Approved prior.
Naftali, we want everybody to learn, no matter where they're learning. Okay, we don't care. We don't care.
However, it did work.
You know, if you
We got
don't
the biggest volume tonight of the week.
The what?
What?
We got the most members on tonight than we did this week.
Jacob, I got an interesting kasha for you.
All right, so I guess it did work. All right. Yeah.
On my flight today, am I able to use the cutlery that they give you?
Are you allowed to use the cutlery? How hot is the food?
Cold fruit.
Yes, you can.
Fork and a knife, no problem.
I would say fork, yeah. Knife, better not to. But
what utensils do you need to eat with the fruit?
I had a fruit thing. I was cutting pineapple and stuff. You know. If you must know, Naftali.
I don't eat fruit, so I wouldn't know.
Now, Tali, some people don't like to eat with their hands on a flight.
Yeah, I can't.
Especially when they're sitting next to people.
Right. I mean, I wasn't sitting.
Nobody comes near you.
Some of us deliberately do it.
You get all the elbow room you want if you act weird on a flight.
Exactly.
So, Jacob, not a problem.
Not a problem, unless Gershon has a problem with it, but I don't think it's a.
And what
it's
about
not a problem.
Why you're being machmir dukka the sakina with fruit?
If it's really clean, then really it's fine.
And the spoon to eat a yogurt? No issue?
That's fine. That's for sure fine. That's for sure fine. Now the question, even hot is really okay, just as long as it's less than 110 degrees.
I tried telling myself it's for sure sitting quiet, unused for 24 hours. But I was debating if I have to put in a cup of hot water to kasher it. I wasn't sure, but okay.
No, you don't have to. You're allowed to even eat on treifa kalim as long as it's not hot. As long as it's not boiling hot, more than 110 degrees, as long as you don't do it often. So depending on how often you're doing this, that's
got you. Okay.
Yeah. All right.
Very good.
So I don't know what the story is with the Gershon. I don't know what the deal is with the.
With what?
With no Gershon. I don't know what to see him.
Oh, we're gonna
Oh,
finalize
shit.
after Shabbos, Gershon. We're gonna finalize.
All right, awesome. I can't wait.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Aaron, just in
Yeah, I
case,
can-
I got a 7-bone rib aging in my fridge, just in case.
Parents, you're the only guy I
Again?
know who's got a 7-bone just in case.
You don't understand. I did it with 2 of my bags. I had to reseal them. You know what I mean? It didn't fit. It was a whole balagan.
In case there's an invasion or something, just in
Hold on.
case.
Do I have
parents has
permission?
7
Where's Landau? Landau, do I have permission to post a picture of it on the chat?
You can write
Listen,
admin
that'll
approved.
do. I don't want to be swayed to leave you guys and go to a different shiur. I wouldn't want to do that to you.
Naftali,
I don't want the taiva out there.
Yaakov and I had this conversation today, and that was our kavanah.
It was the big goal. He said, post it, maybe Landau will go.
Right? He'll get a free
No, but if you-
Gemara.
What do you have
Post
to do
the
to get,
7
Yeah, you'll
ribs
entice him with the free
before
Gemara.
tomorrow night.
what do you have to do to get a free Gemara? You have to listen to all the shiur? How does that work?
No, you have to just say that you're going to do a shiur.
That's
You
it.
have to sign
Even
up
if you
and
do
get it.
one day, and that's it. Like
Tiago,
You
you got a
said-
free Gemara. You can get the whole article Shas that way, Tiago.
No, you can't. You can only get a one. Every Masech.
Every-
you get a
every-
free-
every
no,
Masech,
no. You can only do it once.
When
no,
you
you
do
get
it.
every Masech.
You can get every Masechta that's not if you join. I mean, if you join for brachas, you can't get another one for Shabbos.
Yes, you get every
No, you
single,
can't, I'm
every
telling
single
you.
one. Yes, every single one.
This guy's paying for everybody's shas.
I believe
Yeah,
so.
people
No,
are
I
paying.
don't think that's.
Everyone that you do.
I'm gonna go on the
That's
website.
He's
right now.
Everyone.
Are you serious? And let's say you miss one blot.
That's not a problem. He does it on YouTube.
No, I'm saying, but you have to watch every one of his blot.
Yeah, but he doesn't know if you do it.
No, I understand, but you want to be on it. I'm saying you don't want to take
Yeah,
somebody.
we didn't have a Mishnah yet in Moed Katan saying that yesh
Jacob,
ha'arama b'daf.
Mendy tells me that Art Scroll Mamish loves Eli Stefanski.
Of course. I mean, the guy must be. I mean, sheesh.
He's
How
probably
many
getting
shots-
Kaddish in the next Yom HaShas.
Just in case Aaron Campbell is going to parents.
That's pretty wild. You really every Masechta you say you're going to keep
The way I understood it, it's the first Masechta you join, and that's it.
I just looked it up on 8minutedaf.com. First of all, you got to fill out all the information with your email address. You have to say that, believe that you're going to do 7 dafim together, and you never got a free Gemara before. So it's one Gemara.
It's one to start you
Each
off.
rotation.
You put your email address down for this is the worst of your problems, okay?
The point is it doesn't make sense. Yeah, of course it's each cycle.
What do you mean? You just sounded like you said what you said.
No,
it's
each
one.
cycle of Siyam Shas, meaning not each Gemara.
How many cycles did you do already, Naftali?
I understand.
Every 7.5 years.
No, but you get one Masechta. What?
One
No,
Masechta.
if this is your first time and you're thinking about starting, what they're saying is the first Gemara is on us.
Right, exactly.
And after
Once
that,
you're
you
in,
cannot.
then you're
you
on
don't
your
get
own.
another Gemara.
Then you're on your own. Yeah, that's how I
Naftali,
understand.
somebody by Groners is doing it and handing it out every time he hands out a new Masechta to everybody.
Correct.
Yeah,
I
but that
understand,
hello,
but those are-
That's something
Free.
else.
That's a deer farming. He got
No, Penny Augustine.
same thing. All in the same part of the same group. Ellie
Is he-
Linger, all those guys.
Right.
These guys got people to donate
Say, but
Gemaras.
are they sponsoring it?
No, they got people to donate Gemaras.
Yeah, no, listen,
So what's the
I saw an
difference?
ad that this one, the one in the 5 towns is sponsored by Belsky, Lezerchenish their kid.
Mhm.
What does that mean?
I'm saying
Who gives it out?
Belsky donated money towards whoever in the Rockaway area, whoever wants in the 5 towns. He did, that's the ad I saw.
And you have to. Okay,